So I wanted to do this now because I like to do my videos, even just the quick short ones, when I'm feeling the energy for it. I mean, you'll see people on YouTube get a suit and tie on and shit. Big production. I ain't got the money or the time for that shit. Yesterday I had a conversation with somebody who said, if you don't vote, you don't have an opinion. Now, this is actually something that pisses me off because there are countless instances where I would not vote. And I'm not going to this year. I'm not voting for Josh Shapiro and I'm not voting for Madeline Dean. She's my representative. He's my Congress or he's my governor. I don't know that in regular times Josh Shapiro would be a popular incumbent governor. He hasn't done shit. Now, the Pennsylvania state legislature and Senate are usually gridlocked. Um, but he's been quiet. Madeline Dean, she's been quiet since she was elected originally in 2018. They don't speak up for shit. They do not get passionate about anything. They both take APAC money, they both take Israeli lobby money, they both take corporate money, and they do not stand up when things like we've seen in the past year are going on in this country, let alone the last 2 months when it comes to ICE in Minneapolis and Minnesota and everywhere in this country, really. All the murders, all the racial profiling, the illegal arrests, the illegal break ins, ICE breaking the law when they don't even have, you know, raiding people's houses without a judicial warrant. So, if you do not feel, I said this to someone at, this was like 6, 7 years ago when I was still at my first butcher job. If a politician, I think this was about Bernie specifically. We were talking about Bernie. I said, if a politician doesn't excite you enough to vote for them, you either aren't listening or they didn't do a good enough job. It could be a mix of the two. Regardless, you still have an opinion. Your opinion is still valid. I'm not going to just go vote for a Jill Stein style candidate that pops up every couple years just to make headlines and just, to participate and really doesn't speak up and really doesn't do anything, really doesn't rile up a frenzy to vote and take away from, do the Ross Perot effect, take away from one or another candidate. Even if it ends with results we don't want, it shows, hey, we're going to keep doing this, Democrats. Listen, that doesn't happen. So the only option we really have is to boycott certain Democrats if it's, our line in the sand when it comes to genocide, arming a genocide in Gaza, or wanting to continue to fund ICE, which is also violating human rights and civil rights. People are being tortured in their facilities, people are being raped, children are being starved, children are being denied healthcare access. A girl with sickle cell died in an ICE detention facility, and they told the ICE correctional officers there, she needs medical attention. This is her situation. They ignored her. Countless times they ignored her and she died. So that's where I'm at with the 2026 mid. I almost said 2016. The 2026 midterms. I'm not going to vote for Madeline Dean. At this point, she is what they would call a blue dog. Honestly, she might as well be a Republican with the way she's spoken up. She ain't said shit in the last, what is it, 2026, 10, fucking 8 years. My God. Yeah, I don't have too much faith in my specific governor or congresswoman, and I'm probably leaving my Democratic committee post because I don't have the time between school and work, but also my local Democratic committee doesn't talk about anything like, so who are we just going to prop up next? We're not going to have a conversation about this. Who's next? And then someone just names a name and is like, well, they've been in government long enough. Sure. And I think that's kind of what happened in my neighboring congressional district, US 1, with Brian Fitzpatrick, year after year. There's not really an actual contest to, there's not really an actual primary system to find a perfect candidate or, a candidate that fits. And they always end up with someone like this time around, Bob Harvey, who doesn't have actually anything to say. Zero bold or populist stances. Can't name a specific policy of his because he's the type of Democrat that when talking about healthcare, instead of saying Medicare for all or even universal health care. He goes, yeah, I think we should have lower costing affordable health care that everybody should have access to. That's what they said about the Affordable Care Act. Now, I'm not in favor of the system we had before, but you're a fucking, you're a nut job. You're living in a false reality if you think the Affordable Care Act is perfect and doesn't need fixing, or it's not just a stepping stone. But I wanted to say these few things while it was on my mind. You have every right to state your opinion. You have every right to talk, to practice your First Amendment rights, even if you don't vote. Just this stupid shit. Otherwise, we're just going to keep validating Democrats who do the same thing as Republicans. And like I said, my line in the sand is, listen, you can be against Medicare for all. You can be against universal education. You can be against increasing minimum wage and the PRO Act, the Protect the Right to Organize Act for unions. You can be against a Green New Deal and all this shit under the sun. If you're in favor of arming a genocide, if you're in favor of what ICE is doing, or at the very, because there were 75 Democrats in 2025 who voted on a resolution to praise ICE, House Democrats, and there was probably like 12 or 13, not countless, Democrats who voted for the Laken Riley Act in the Senate who did so knowing that it would abolish due process for immigrants. One of them is Ruben Gallego. If you want to go check out that video on my YouTube, back from May 2025, I spoke to him at a town hall and he gave me some bullshit answers. But if you are in favor of those two things, praising ICE and arming a genocide, or funding ICE and arming a genocide, I got no time for you. That is my line in the sand. I don't think we should be voting for Democrats who do that. If it's wrong when Republicans do it, it's wrong when Democrats do it. Human rights are the red line. Human rights are the line in the sand.